Good evening. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025. I call to order a meeting of the Brockton Finance Committee. Will everyone please rise and join me in honoring our country by saluting our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, agenda item number 1, please.
Item 1, we have the appointment of Faye Slayton of Norwood Street, Brockton, Mass. as an alternate on the board of the Brockton Council on Aging for a 3-year term ending in November 2028. Invited, Faye Slayton.
Ms. Slayton, good evening.
Good evening.
You can take a seat if you like.
Oh, thank you. That'd make it a whole lot easier. All right, straight off, I'm nervous. So we're going to give this a good shot.
You'll be just fine.
First, let me thank you for considering my request to be on the board of the Brockton Council on Aging. I have lived in Brockton for several years and have done community volunteer work at the BCOA for a few years. I realize the excellent work they do in the community and for the senior residents of Brockton. I would like to learn and experience other ways to help in my community. I believe serving on the board of directors or even as an alternate would give me another outlook and opportunities to serve our community. I've been doing volunteer work for over 30 years, and I believe in giving back the blessings that we are so fortunate to have.
Thank you, Ms. Slayton. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Slayton. Well, councilors, Ms. Slayton is my constituent, and we've been talking today, and I wholeheartedly support her appointment. I think she will be an asset to the Council on Aging. Who knows, she may eventually be a regular member as opposed to just an alternate. I'm supporting this, and I hope all of you will too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else?
Motion to recommend favorably back to the full City Council.
Motion was made, properly seconded, to recommend this appointment favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The appointment is recommended favorable. Thank you, Ms. Slayton.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2, we have the appointment of F. Peter Gaskins of Country Club Lane, Brockton, Mass. to the Cemetery Board of Trustees for a 5-year term ending in November 2029. Postponed from the Finance meeting of November 17, 2025. Invited, F. Peter Gaskins, Jr.
Mr. Gaskins, good evening. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, good evening. I proudly support this endeavor. I know Mr. Gaskin unfortunately wasn't able to come to the last FinCom, so I do appreciate you all passing it on and postponing it until this evening. Cemetery Board has been short for some time now. The fact that he is a true dedicated Ward 4 resident on Country Club and he wants to give back to the community is something that we should all applaud him for. So I strongly and respectfully ask you to approve this tonight favorably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Mr. Gaskins, floor is yours.
I appreciate that, Mayor Sullivan. My background is actually like the family history, cemeteries, Civil War, lived in Virginia. So this is definitely up my alley, and I love to give back to the community. And I look forward to working with other committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaskins. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Gaskins. The mayor stole my thunder. Mr. Gaskins is a Ward 4 resident and my constituent. We've talked on the phone. We spoke this evening. I wholeheartedly support his appointment, and I hope all of you will vote favorably. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else?
Motion to recommend favorably back to the full City Council.
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded, recommend this appointment favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The appointment is recommended favorable. Thank you, Mr. Gaskins.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to take item number 10 out of order, just based upon reflection of all the people who've come out today.
Get a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to take agenda item number 10 out of order. All in favor? Anyone opposed? We'll take it out of order. Agenda item number 10.
Item 10, order that the following name sum be and the same is hereby transferred as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Appropriation of $100,000 from Human Resources Benefits to Fire Personal Services non-overtime. Invited, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli and/or designee. I see Dr. Clarkson and the mayor here.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I would humbly ask you to support this endeavor. As the mayor for almost 6 years, I've had the honor and privilege to negotiate quite a few collective bargaining with our firefighters, our brave men and women that are represented by the president of 144, Bill Hill. We have always negotiated in good faith. We have always come to an understanding that we really respect the bravery of the men and women. I think when we did the ribbon cutting for the public safety building, I expressed my sincere thanks to each and every one of them. They could work in any part of the Commonwealth or beyond, and they choose to represent the city of Brockton. They do it with distinction, with honor, and they put their lives at risk each and every day. So I would respectfully and humbly ask you to support this endeavor. Dr. Clarkson can express the financial endeavors, but I feel very confident as the CEO of the city of Brockton that this is a really, really good contract for both parties. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Dr. Clarkson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I concur with the sentiments expressed by the mayor as someone who participates on behalf of the mayor in all of the collective bargaining sessions. This was, as it always is, collaborative and respectful. The amount that's requested of $100,000 is because most of the items in this, as you saw, the MOA was provided in your packet, and so a lot of the aspects of this won't take place until January 1st, and we do have money within the fire budget because of the vacancies that can mostly fund the results of this collective bargaining agreement. It is a one-year contract, so we'll be back at the table fairly soon, and the wage increase was negotiated at 1.5%, so the union gets credit for really coming to the table and negotiating an agreement that's financially sustainable so that we can, as you know, we're in a period where we're going to do some long-range financial planning, and taking a one-year contract will give us that time to pause and do some planning and really be able to take a look at the long-term health of the city. So the union and the negotiating team, I think, deserve some credit for really working out something that was good for the union, but also good for the city.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Seeing none?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded, and recommend this order favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorably. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3.
Ordered that the city council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $175,000 from the Bar Foundation to the Department of Public Works Commissioner. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill, CFO Troy Clarkson. Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Dr. Clarkson.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman. With me is our DPW Commissioner, Pat Hill. So, as I always do, I did send a detailed note to you on Friday with some of the details on tonight's agenda. For this item, as I mentioned, this is a grant from the Bar Foundation to assist the city with transportation planning. So it's a 3-year grant that will allow us to bring on a transportation planner to help us with many of the transportation-related grants and projects that we have ongoing. And I'll certainly defer to Pat to talk about the specific plans he has for this person, as it will work both with the planning department and with Pat, but as the quarterback of most of our implementation projects, Pat will be the primary person who will interface with this grant-funded employee.
Commissioner Hill, good evening.
Good evening, councilors. I think this is something that's been kind of long talked about with Troy and myself, even with Rob May, the former planner. There is a lot of, I don't want to call them issues, but there is a lot of sometimes disconnects between the DPW, who ends up managing most of these projects, and the planning department. Having somebody from the planning department on my staff will be very helpful. We're about to get involved in a $7.8 million grant award for the RAISE grant, which will be transitioning the downtown into two-way. This planner will, I mean, there's enough work in that one grant to keep this planner busy for the entire 3 years.
Great. Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, just if I could, members of the committee, What's also really unique about this, because it is a grant-funded position, as the mayor, I chair the BAT Bus Corporation, Brockton Area Transit, and so we're talking about transportation planning. Mike Lambert and his team would be engaged in this as well. So this would be a city employee working under the auspices of Pat, working with planning as well, but also I'm proud to say that Mike and his team at BAT would like to also utilize and work with this person, because transportation runs the gamut, including BAT. Just wanted you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. So Commissioner Hill, this is $175,000 in a 40-month grant. Will that only cover a transportation planner? What else will it cover? And just give me a sense of what a transportation planner does. I understand the Warren Avenue example, going from one way to two ways.
I mean, the biggest project that I can envision this person being involved in is the RAISE grant. It's not something that this planner will take on their own. It'll be something, it'll be more of like a middle person to coordinate with city personnel and with consultants, because probably 90% of that work that will be done through that RAISE grant will be done on the engineering side. There'll be probably $2 million worth of planning stuff that is involved, but that will be part of the total RFP. So the RFP will be cut up into two separate sections where there's planning and then there's design money. So we figure that $2 million of that will be on the planning stage, assisted by a consultant with a planning consultant on board. So there'll be a design consulting, a planning consultant, and this person will kind of coordinate between all those parties.
And this is new for the city of Brockton. What other communities, to your knowledge, employ transportation planners?
So transportation planners, I think, are common in cities. I don't necessarily know that it's common in a public work setting, but a lot of public work engineers that either lead those organizations or sit as a city engineer are oftentimes planning engineers. So.
Okay. And we also have, headquartered in Brockton, Old Colony Regional Planning.
Right.
And they do a lot of transportation-related work for us. So what do they do that this person won't do, and vice versa?
The central role of the Old Colony Planning Council is to kind of be like a mid-person, I guess, or a mid-based organization to make sure that the Mass DOT properly recognizes the communities that are represented by that region. So OCPC is actually paid for out of state funding. But they oversee all the large-scale projects, and they make sure that there's equity to all the communities that they represent.
And they do studies.
And they do a lot of studies, yes.
At least in Brockton, they do.
They've done a lot of stuff. They do a lot of study. They'll do pretty much whatever you ask them to do, with limitations, obviously. They're not engineers. They do a lot of traffic studies. They do a lot of transportation studies, just baseline stuff to get a project moving.
And they will work with our transportation planner? Yes, Mr. Clarkson.
I can just supplement what Pat is sharing. Everything he said is absolutely correct. Another major responsibility of the OCPC and those regional planning agencies throughout the Commonwealth is that they actually determine and distribute the large-scale transportation fundings. You might have heard of the phrase the TIP before. Yes. The Transportation Improvement Plan, and so those funds flow to those regional planning agencies, and they're responsible for multiple communities, and they actually distribute those funds. So we anticipate that this planner will work closely with those folks at the OCPC.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none?
Motion to recommend favorably?
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded, or recommend this order favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you, gentlemen.
Item number 4, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $68,000 from Mass DEP to the Department of Public Works Refuse. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill, CFO Troy Clarkson.
Commissioner Hill, Dr. Clarkson.
Good evening, councilors. This is a grant we get every year based on our performance. It's performance-based from the recycling dividends program. So there's a system of grading based on the size of your community, the size of your recycling center, how often you pick up trash, what your tonnage is, how you collect things, how you maintain your refuse infrastructure in the community.
Councilor Azak.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
What will this be used for?
Oftentimes, this money is used to replace barrels. Lately, we've been using it to upgrade our CCTV cameras out to try to catch illegal dumpings. It's used for recycling pamphlets. It's used for community programs where we provide trash pickers or sometimes T-shirts. We use the money to also sponsor the trash, the Keep Brockton Beautiful Day.
And how is this compared to, we've received this in the past?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same award every year. We're really in a tough spot where we do so well that it's very difficult to score higher. One of the things that we do not have is like a composting facility. Composting facility gives you a few extra points. If we had a larger population or more people participating in the program, once you hit a certain threshold, you get more points. So we're right where we should be.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor.
Chairman.
Councilor Castro.
Thank you. So, reading the materials that were sent to us to support the approval of this grant, I understand that our points were calculated big on our compliance with curbside recycling regulations and solid waste reduction.
Correct.
So why are we so much better at that than others?
Well, I think the small barrel is a reflection as to why we're better. We buy the large-scale barrels, which encourages recycling. Our trash tonnage for a community to the side is pretty low. It's right about 25,000 tons. Other communities may have 28,000, 29,000 tons. So
That's an annual number?
That's an annual number, yep.
Okay. Tons. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else?
Motion to recommend favorably back to the full city council.
Second.
Motion is made, properly second, to recommend this order favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable.
Thank you.
Number 5.
Item 5, orders in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the city council approve the expenditure of $293,453.44 from DPW refuse purchase of services, $277,891.92 from DPW stormwater purchase of service, $15,258 from DPW highway purchase of service, $228.52 from DPW highway goods and supplies, $75 to Republic Services, $277,891.92 to Apex Engineering, $15,258 to Sprague, $228.52 to Stephen Gogan, $75. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Commissioner Hill, Dr. Clarkson, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. As I noted in my memo, this is the first of 3 items before you tonight for unpaid prior year bills. Commissioner Hill and the DPW business manager, Megan McKee, have compiled spreadsheets, and Pat can speak in detail to the specific bills, but this is similar to other similar items that we've had before you in recent weeks and months. I would say the one difference here is that Megan is a new hire in the DPW. As you all know, she worked on my team for a few years and then was able to receive this promotion to be the DPW business manager. So she has a particular skill with data and with organization, and so it really has been able to dig in. I think Pat and I were discussing before this meeting, there are, did you say approximately 7,000?
So in total, and I had Megan, thank you very much, run these numbers, but the DPW in total pays 2,746 invoices per year to the tune of $57,191,000. So it's a very, very large department broken into 8 different budgets. We've been short-staffed for a couple of years. The staff that I have on now currently in a couple of my divisions, these people have been there less than a year. They're doing the work of 4 people, so there's 2 people doing the work of 4 people. They're in charge of payroll. Payroll can be very complex when it comes to water and sewer with differentials, night shifts, and all the other things that go with that, on top of paying these invoices. I'm certainly not making excuses. This is something that seems to happen with us every year. But, you know, when I look back, and that's why I had Megan run these numbers, you know, we wait this long because we want to be sure, we wait this long to file this because we want to be sure that there isn't anything laying out there. So we went through each and every bill, tried to figure out what had transpired. Some of them are pretty reasonable explanations where we had contracts that were in routing that we could not pay until they were signed, even though they were in routing prior to. Some of that work had already taken place. Some of them are as simple as we don't really have an answer, but you know, Megan's working very, very hard right now to try to keep track of this stuff more closely, and I hope as my staff gets more familiar with the process that this doesn't happen in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner. Councilors. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening again, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Well, the lion's share of the funding that is requested under this order is for Republic Services. And I noticed that the bill that was submitted to us to substantiate that claim, it was due, as of June 30th, it was due July 31st. And so I wondered, is interest and penalty being charged on that bill?
No, and I can, to be honest with you, Counselor, that portion or this piece of the bill, the contract was not in effect until July 1st.
Right.
This was part of the contract negotiation, was to pay the prevailing wages from the prior year.
Yes.
So that, I was under the assumption that we could pay that with this fiscal year's money because the contract wasn't valid until July 1. However, I was told that that is not possible, so we're going to have to pay it with this year's bills. But there is no penalty, no.
Okay. And the amounts that are included in your FY26 budget, I mean, are you now over because of this funding, or did you take that into account when you created your numbers that came before us in June?
We sat in front of the ordinance committee last week, Counselor, and there isn't enough money in the refuse enterprise currently to cover this fiscal year's bills. So that's something that we're working to bring back to the ordinance committee to try to raise fees other than raising the trash fee itself, to come back and try to raise fees on mattresses, raise fees on other things, maybe change some things around so we don't have to go up on the actual fee. So the way things are right now, we're not going to be able to make it till the end of the year, I can tell you that for sure. But we're hopeful that we can come up with some kind of compromise with the ordinance committee that will be able to sustain most of the blow, I think.
Well, I know for a fact people are dumping mattresses all over Ward 4.
No, they're dumping them everywhere. And, you know, the city of Brockton charges $20 for a mattress to pick it up at your house, where no other community does that. I think we presented that to the ordinance committee the other night. Most people charge $50. It costs more than $20 to get rid of the mattress. So those are fees we're going to look at. I don't know that it's going to get us to the point where we'll be comfortable with the budget. But certainly, you know, we'll look at historical data from last year and try to evaluate that and try to come up with some compromises that should offset some of the trash fee increases.
And you'll need some higher penalties when you do.
Counselor, just to piggyback what you said, Green Mattress is a company based here in Brockton, up in the village, and Pat, myself, and Troy are going to be meeting with the CEO. Right now, I met them through the Northeast Coalition Renewable Energy, and they want to talk to us because that's their whole business proposition. They work with Republic, but it might be more reasonable to work directly with them. So we have a meeting. Troy and I were supposed to be in Cabo Verde this week with Bridgewater State, but we chose not to go so we could be here tonight. But I will report back on what that meeting will be with the CEO.
If there's some way you could incentivize doing the right thing with the mattress, either that or get some better cameras.
Yeah, I mean, we're continually investing in new cameras. We've been working with the IT department and with the police department to come up with solutions that better capture the data that we need. Oftentimes, we will find we can catch people dumping, we just can't get license plates. So I think we've kind of crossed that hurdle. We've been successful the past month and a half catching people. We've issued this year to date like $19,000 in fines that have been paid.
They have been
and
paid?
that have been paid. There are still probably around $10,000 worth of bills that are still outstanding. So, you know, it's working. And I know that if we make too rash decisions on the trash end and we increase the rates of those things too much, you know, there's concern that will encourage dumping as well.
That's
So
right.
I think we just need to find a balance to bring back to the ordinance committee that kind of works for everybody. And, you know, Megan and I have been working on that the past couple of days, and we hope to have something, because we won't make it this year, but in the new year with the new ordinance committee, we'll have something for them sometime early January.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. I just had a quick question. So the money going to Republic, now that's for outstanding bill of fiscal year '25.
So the way that the contract, the amendment was written, part of that was to capture the prevailing wage increase that they experienced from July of '24 to July of '25. Because those, I guess, increases happened in that fiscal year, my impression was the contract would overrule, or would rule in that case, because it wasn't in effect until July 1st. So my impression was that I could pay that out of this fiscal year's money, which I could not.
Now, it's coming from the DPW refuse purchase of services. That's out of that enterprise fund.
Correct.
Okay. So we're taking money from the enterprise fund to help pay this bill.
Correct.
Okay. And,
Mr. Chairman, it's a legitimate bill of the enterprise fund.
okay, right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then we have another line item coming up regarding transferring free cash over to the DPW refuse enterprise, or the retained earnings.
Correct.
Is that, and that's also to satisfy a fiscal 20?
That was,
budget.
yes, we raised trash rates. It did not, we did not have enough retained earnings to pull forward to balance the budget, so we were in the red, I guess, about $130-something thousand. $134,000. So in that case, the general fund offsets that cost so that the enterprise is in the green moving forward.
So these two transfers are to satisfy the last fiscal year's services?
Well, one of them is not really a transfer, it's just authorization to pay a fiscal
Okay.
bill in this fiscal year, or a bill in this fiscal year. The other one is to transfer it to close out the books, yes.
Okay. And that's for the previous fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay. Understood. Councilors, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded. I recommend this order favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you, gentlemen.
Item 6, ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council approve the expenditure of $72,842.93 from sewer goods and supplies, $6,432.51, from sewer purchase of services, $66,410.42, to Eastern Sling and Supply, $1,247.51, to Q's Inc., $5,185, to Equipment East, $4,550, to Bertarelli Brothers LLC, $5,700, to FedEx, $41.49, to the Brockton Police Department, $1,730.68, to Core and Main, $33,035.18, to Altus, excuse me, Altus Power, $20,078.07, to the Holbrook Police Department, $715, to the Clinton Police Department, $560. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill and CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Commissioner Hill, Dr. Clarkson.
Good evening.
Good evening again, sir. Same church, different pew. So this is unpaid bills from the sewer enterprise.
Thank you. Councilors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion was made, properly seconded, to recommend this matter favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable.
Item 7, order that the following named sum be and the same is hereby transferred as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Appropriation of $13,760.20 from Human Resources Benefits to Public Property, Personal Services, non-overtime. Invited Interim Commissioner of Buildings William Fort, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Dr. Clarkson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is, as I noted in my memo, for the settlement of the building and trades contract. It's a very small union with skilled tradespeople, carpenters, plumbers, and hence the relatively small amount of the transfer, but this is similar to the fire contract to settle a one-year contract that was negotiated and approved by the mayor with the same 1.5% wage increase as was received by the firefighter. All contracts, by the way, that have been settled, all of them that you've seen and all that you will see that are nearing completion are at that 1.5. So it was a very successful round of contract negotiations.
Thank you. Councilors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion was made, properly seconded, to recommend this matter favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you, gentlemen.
Item 8, ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending the City Council approve the expenditure of $72,275.48 from Water, Goods and Supplies, $12,321.88 from Water Purchase of Services, $59,953.60 to Core and Main, $33,035.19 to Altus Power, $20,078.07 to John Hoadley and Sons, $1,129.26. To Ty Sales, $5,562.63. To Woodward Auto Parts, $5,599.99. To Brockton Police, $3,680.34. To Plimpton Police, $560. To Everett's Auto Parts, $30. To Equipment East, $2,600. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Commissioner Hill, Dr. Clarkson.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
So this is the final of the three requests to pay unpaid bills, and as it is noted, this is for the unpaid bills for the water enterprise.
Councilors. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. Good evening again, gentlemen. So from our email back and forth, Commissioner Hill, I know that the first two entries for Core and Main and Altus Power, they're actually split between this one, which is for water, and the earlier one we discussed for sewer.
Correct.
Right. Those were large bills. Now, not all of these are for last year's fiscal year. Brockton Police, you've got two bills in here for August 27th and July 31st. But I do have a question about Equipment East, because, yes, it was June 2nd, so that was last year's fiscal year, and they charged you for renting a mini-wheeled excavator. But they didn't charge for a digging bucket or a tilting bucket. They have a long entry for each of them on the invoice, but they didn't charge for you to use those. Is that typical, or?
That's typically when we go to rent a specific piece of equipment, we rent it with the specific apparatus that we need. So there's certain buckets that we need to do certain jobs, which is why we rent equipment that we don't have. But yes, it is typical.
And they also called it a reoccurring rental invoice because we rent those a lot?
So between all of the departments in DPW, the sewer department oftentimes will use equipment that we don't have that requires a longer reach to dig deeper holes. Sometimes the highway department has some work to do around a retention basin that requires a longer reach machine. So it's an open contract with them. It's done through the state contract, actually. We use the state contract prices to rent that stuff. So they call it an open contract. We call them when we need stuff, and because it's under the state contract, it falls under procurement.
Okay. And hopefully your department will do better next year at paying the bills before June 30th.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some of these things, and Troy and I and Megan and I had talked about this quite a bit. You know, sometimes you get into a position where, you know, you're in May, you're unsure, like the Altus Power stuff, you know, we don't know what those bills are going to be.
Right.
So it's difficult to move money within the budget that time of year because there isn't enough council meetings to do that. So Altus Power, we had the money within the budgets, we could have transferred from one to another, however, that would have required 3 meetings. We did not know that until mid-June. So, you know, we do the best we can with trying to keep an eye on that stuff, but like solar power depends on the weather, right? So I don't know what the solar power bill is going to be until we get it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Seeing none?
Motion to recommend favorably back to the
Second.
full city council.
Motion is made, properly seconded, to recommend this matter favorable. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorably. Thank you, gentlemen.
Item 9, ordered that the following named sum being the same as hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $134,735 from certified free cash to DPW refuse retained earnings. Invited DPW Commissioner Pat Hill, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Gentlemen.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So, Ed, for those of you that either attended or watched the Ordinance Committee meeting, we did have an extensive discussion, as Pat mentioned, so some of what I'll say is a bit repetitive, but I think it bears repeating because we had a very substantive discussion, I think, at the Ordinance Committee meeting with some good suggestions by the councilors who were members of that committee about how to address the issue of significantly rising solid waste disposal costs, which are true not just for Brockton, but for all communities in Massachusetts, and balancing that with how we charge fees to the residents and users. So we had recommended increasing the fee. The committee recommended going back and being a little more creative and taking a look at maybe some of the fees for other items, as we've discussed tonight, like mattresses and bulky items and refrigerators and things like that. So we're going to come back right after the start of the new legislative session with some updated recommendations for you. But we did anticipate this deficit, and when we came to you in the spring and asked for the fee increase. So this is the way to balance out that enterprise, because we finished the year $134,735 in a deficit. But we did know that, and we, the council and I and Pat had the chance at a couple of different meetings, including our budget meeting, to discuss that. One other item of interest, this is the first of 2 items that we'll ask you to transfer from certified free cash. So we anticipate that free cash will be certified by the time you take your final vote on this next Monday. And as soon as that certification, Juan has been working very closely with the Department of Revenue, and I asked him to be here tonight if you had any questions on that particular topic. But so as soon as that certification is back from the DOR, I'll provide it to you immediately, but we will ensure that that number is in hand before you're asked to vote that final vote on Monday night. I do anticipate that the free cash number will be in excess of $15 million, so you will be able to afford this and the other item that we're being asked to transfer tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Castro.
Thank you. So just to follow up on that, Mr. Clarkson, if by some chance a week from tonight certified free cash is not certified, we will postpone a vote.
That is correct, and which is why we worked hard to get this before you tonight, so if that unlikely eventuality occurs, we still have time in your schedule to get that voted before the end of the month. I remember when we were here last December, and we were trying to just tidy a few things up at the very end of the calendar, and I listened, right? That was at the very end of December, and I know it was difficult for you to try to absorb things at the last minute, so we tried to make time in the schedule to be able to get this through and give you the opportunity to ponder it, and also give us the opportunity, just in case we didn't have that certification, that we'd have time to push that out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, councilors. Anyone else? So I got 2 quick questions. So I did watched the ordinance committee meeting, and as you stated, it was a good discussion, very substantive. One of the suggestions or opinions was instead of raising the individual refuse rates, to do something like this again next year, where whatever the deficit would be, to pay it out of our free cash earnings. Could you talk about that? Would that be a good idea, bad idea? Is that recommended, not recommended? What are the cost benefits of foregoing any rate increase and then supplementing with free cash at the end of the year?
Excellent question, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that I mentioned at the Ordinance Committee was that I actually cut my teeth in public finance as the business manager for an enterprise fund back more than 20 years ago for the town of Bourne. And that enterprise fund is actually still operating and very healthy. So I would say that it is not a best practice because the whole purpose of an enterprise fund is to have the operation, the enterprise, supported by its users. And the users of an enterprise fund are not necessarily the same body of people as the taxpayers. In many cases they are, but not always. Same with water or sewer. So the objective and the sort of raison d'etre of an enterprise is to be able to pay for the operation within that closed system. So when we're asking the general fund to support the operation of the enterprise, it's taking away general funds from other things that they could be spent on, but also it's contrary to why an enterprise fund exists. Let me make it very clear. It's not illegal. It is perfectly legal, but I think it's not financially the best way to run that operation.
Understood. And then just last question. Let's say those rate increase does not pass for some reason. What would the forecasted deficit be in our refuse enterprise if we continue services without an increase in rates?
For this current fiscal year, we talked about that before the Ordinance Committee. If we do nothing at all to raise any of the fees, I do anticipate that the FY26 deficit in the refuse enterprise could exceed $1 million.
Understood.
You concur with that, Mr. Commissioner?
Yeah, we have an approximate 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
Understood. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Councilors, anyone else? Seeing none?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded to recommend this order favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, councilors.
Item 10, order that the following named sum being the same as hereby transferred. That's the same as.
We did 10.
We did it. We did it.
Oh, sorry, yes, we did that. Thank you.
Thank you.
11, order that the following named sum being the same as hereby transferred is the same as submitted by the mayor as follows.
Thank you.
Transfer of $3,388,863 from the Pension Stabilization Fund to Retirement Contributory Pension. Invited Executive Director Gene Martineau and/or designees, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Dr. Clarkson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've provided to each of you some material to assist in your deliberations tonight. In addition to the lengthy narrative that I provided in your email, I've provided you a very detailed spreadsheet that I'm happy to walk you through that really, this is a snapshot not only of how we calculated this figure that's before you tonight, but of the potential benefits of issuing additional pension debt. And I wanted to just talk briefly about this because I know we've been talking a lot about debt lately, and it has somehow taken on a negative connotation. And I think this is one of the instances where actually taking on additional debt will yield significant savings. And when we save dollars, those are real dollars in the budget that we can save and then redirect for other purposes. And I'm happy to go over this in significant detail with anyone either tonight or outside of this meeting, but I would direct your attention to the bottom line that's shaded kind of grayish, that on the left-hand column talks about FY26 budget savings. And then estimated budget savings from POB, which is pension obligation bond, in FY27, approximately $3.3 million, and FY28, approximately $3.3 million. Then it drops off significantly, but still there's a substantial savings of around $100,000 a year up until fiscal year 2038, where we anticipate fully funding our pension obligation. And so when we presented this year's budget to you, if you recall, we funded approximately half of our pension obligation to the Brockton Retirement Board in that operating budget. And at that time, I discussed with you the reason why we were funding half of it is because we anticipated issuing the remaining approximately $60 million in pension debt that you had authorized, and that would relieve us of the need for paying the other half of the pension debt. As the plan unfolded, and as I've told you, we brought in the same team of experts that we did for the first pension round in 2021, and that included our consultants from Stiefel and from Hilltop. The folks from Stiefel are actually our underwriters. We brought in my predecessor, Jay Condon. We brought in Rick Manley, our bond counsel, the actuary that the Brockton Retirement Board lent us, and had several meetings with the retirement board themselves. And so this plan was not put together by me. It was put together by a team of financial professionals who have reached a consensus about the efficacy of this effort. So one of the things as our plan progressed and we looked at other communities, the city of Quincy, for instance, recently had some challenges with their bond rating due to the fact that they actually used bond proceeds to pay what's called the normal costs. So that our pension obligation every year is split into two numbers. The normal costs is the number that we actually right now pay to current pensioners. So those are our current obligations. The accumulated liability is an actuarial figure that calculates what we have to pay to the retirement board to fully fund our obligations moving forward. And that's the one that the retirement board recently said that we can have until 2038 to fully satisfy. So in looking at putting this package together, one of the recommendations that was made was that we shouldn't pay the remainder of this year's normal costs with bond proceeds. Makes sense because it's non-recurring money. The good news is we had accumulated, as you can see, $26 million in our pension stabilization fund. And that is exactly why we created that fund. So what we're asking you to do tonight is to simply transfer that number in the bottom left-hand corner of this spreadsheet, $3,388,863,000, to transfer it from that pension stabilization fund, and it's actually going into this year's budget, and then we will then use that money to pay the rest of the normal costs to the Brockton Retirement Board, but will satisfy the rest of this year's accumulated liability once we issue that additional pension debt, probably sometime in late January. So,
Mr. Chairman, one thing that Dr. Clarkson talked about is during the budget, we expressed that we were paying half. And I have to thank the chairman of the retirement board and the members, because they had asked us if that would make sense and ease a little bit of burden on us. Pay now half and then pay the additional half at a later date. So, they took a vote on that. They ratified that. It definitely was greatly appreciated by the city of Brockton. And just to go back in time, when we refinanced our debt liability, the city of Brockton now, our POB, is considered the example throughout the United States of America. I mean, bond councils and bond meetings talk about what we did here based upon the term savings, which is like $90 million over the term. So it's substantial savings, and again, it's thanks to all of the members of the legislative body that agreed to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and he's absolutely right. So we've actually been able to speak at more than one forum about the job that we were able to do as a team here. And this is a complete aside, but I do need to plug our team. I did send you an email earlier today and thank a couple of you for responding. Your finance team here in Brockton are some real true professionals, and for the 6th year in a row, they have received the top award nationally for transparency and received the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Award. And I'm very proud of the team, and thank you for joining me and congratulating them. And one of those members of that crack team, the leader of that team, Elvira Lopes, your budget director, did send us a Munis report so that we showed you that the actual cash on hand in that stabilization fund is $26 million. So with this transfer to satisfy the rest of this year's normal cost, that fund will still be very healthy and will be at $22,674,000.
Thank you, gentlemen. Councilors.
Motion recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion is made, properly seconded, to recommend this matter favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Item 12, order that the following named sum being the same as hereby transferred as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $1,609,443 from certified free cash to reserve for appropriation deficits. Invited Mayor Robert Sullivan, CFO Dr. Troy Clarkson.
Mayor Sullivan, Dr. Clarkson.
Thank you. I've just asked Juan to come up in case there's any specific questions. He's been intimately involved in this. So we had mentioned this before, and this is a result of the operations of the Brockton Redevelopment Authority and the city taking over those funds. And so we also provided to you at your desks a list of steps that have been taken since the city has taken over the responsibility for those funds. I won't read through the list, but I wanted you to see the significant amount of work that's been done to sort of bring that fiscal house in order. This will be the second year in a row that our free cash has been impacted by the operations of the Brockton Redevelopment Authority. The good news is that last year it was a number that was significantly more. It was over $2 million, correct, Juan? And so Juan, working with his team, has been able to bring that number down to about $1.6 million. What we're asking you to do tonight, so that this doesn't continue to be a recurring hit on our free cash, is to appropriate money to extinguish that deficit. So this deficit will go away with this appropriation. And now that the city and a team, including Juan and several members of my team, and you can see other steps that we've taken. We brought in our external auditor to do an audit of the BRA in concert with the folks at HUD, so we're working very closely with them. We've had a couple of external consultants. One did sort of an operational audit of the BRA and is giving us some recommendations on how to improve the staff level performance. And yet another consultant actually writing policies and procedures so that the jobs of the people that are working in the Planning and Economic Development Department are clear about what their duties are. And finally, we are working with one of those consultants who's recommending to us a couple of different actually retired CDBG managers from other communities that can come in on an interim basis to help right the ship and lead the team. So several steps are taken, but this is the final step, I think, that's being requested to extinguish that previous deficit so that we can start fresh and have our fiscal house in order as it relates to those funds. I did ask Juan to be here even though he wasn't invited in case you have any specific questions about the costs that make up that $1.6 million or about how he got that number from $2 million down to 1.6.
Mr. Chairman, if I could also just elaborate a little bit more. The fact that we brought it back in-house is the right thing to do. HUD supports it, both Boston and Washington. We had face-to-face meetings with the Washington folks twice. Some of these bills go back to 1999. You know, that's a long time. If we didn't bring it in, the $2 million that hit us last year would probably be the same or even higher. So we've brought it down to 1.2. This will extinguish the debt. We do not, I mean, the next mayor may decide differently, but I would not recommend having a third party vis-a-vis the BRA handle our CDBG or home funds. It needs to be in-house. Other cities do it exceptionally well. And, we have the right people in place. I think adding some additional folks, such as the suggestions of a retired expert in CDBG, is going to help the city. But at the end of the day, this was not overspending by the city. What this was funds being distributed out and then not being, and Juan can explain it more, not tracking it in a manner so the reimbursement would come back. So this will hit the free cash, but it would be a one-time offset. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Razak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And please forgive me for being confused, but I'm really confused. First of all, Mayor, you just said the bills go back to 1999. How is that possible?
Yeah, so the items that make up this deficit do not go back to 1999, but the mayor is correct. What he's talking about is when we looked at the allocations from Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, funding, they have funds that were committed but unspent going back to 1999. So those actually, if we're in the process of trying to reconcile how they allocated those funds, what they committed them to, and those funds will likely become available that can be redirected by the new mayor to other projects. And so we're just trying to unravel all of those obligations going back as far as 1999.
Just one other point of information. The BRA's documentation, all the paperwork is in storage at Iron Mountain. So when the BRA ceased to exist, the board still exists, right? But the actual day-to-day operations is now in-house. City of Brockton, we designated Attorney Stacey Verdi. She's been working with Iron Mountain. There's over between 100 and 150 boxes of documentation. So we are right now working with Iron Mountain to get all those boxes back to Brockton as opposed to pay for storage. The thought would be to scan those, PDF those, but some of those documentations may not be even applicable. They could be anything. So we're going to have to spend some time looking through it. I will not be the mayor when that happens, but the recommendation, and HUD supports this, is that we take everything back, we being the city, vet through it, figure out what's what, because, from 1999, I mean, we were a lot younger in 99, though that should have been rectified by the year 2000.
Thank you. So, I mean, the whole situation of the BRA, and I'm glad you brought it in-house. I know it's gone through a lot in the last few years. But I know that right before there was a committee that hired the executive director that's no longer there now, but, there was hope that everything was going to go well and everything was going to be fixed and rectified, but I just, and I thank you, Mr. Clarkson, for giving us the steps that you're all taking. I feel that this has been for a few years now. It's become a bit of a disaster, and I just hope we're doing the right thing, especially with all the changes that have happened in the planning department. And I know this has become, I know there's a lot of things happening there, so.
We definitely have done the right thing because HUD has supported wholeheartedly. The initial meeting in my office, I asked if they would feel better if the city took it back, and they all said yes. And then we did a Zoom with Washington, D.C. I'm not going to elaborate on any former employees of the BRA. There is a lawsuit filed. It's a pending matter, so I don't want to talk about it. But I can tell you that working with our partners in Boston and Washington, they wholeheartedly supported this. The fact that Juan and his team are working, I wouldn't say on a daily basis with HUD, but now that they're back to work because of the shutdown, for 46 days we didn't really have anybody, but we're definitely trending in the right direction.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So since Juan's here, I would like to hear a little bit of what makes up this $1,609,000.
Good evening, councilors. The deficit is made up of 3 programs, which is the CDBG program, the home program, and the lead program. The reason why we ended up in a deficit was the BRA at the time, they were given some sort of structure, right, that says, example, you pay full-time salaries, you have to spend this much money for public safety, you have to do this to build, whatever the case may be. They spent out of those parameters, and then when we went to go to the federal government and say, can we get reimbursed for this, they said, no, you cannot, because those, expenditures are not reimbursable. So that made up basically the bulk of the deficit that we have. Originally, I believe the deficit was closer to 2.5 million, but my predecessor worked very hard with the HUD folks in Washington to bring that down to the 1.6 that you have now.
Okay. So this deficit obviously doesn't go back to 1999, but how long, what's covered? Because we've had a lot of people go through the BRA in the last few years, 5 years or so. So how far does this go back?
I don't want to butcher anything, but when I looked at the GL, and this was a while ago, so mine is here and there, I believe this goes back between 2021 and 2022, where this stuff started happening, where we were not getting reimbursed on a timely manner, and then we started running this on the red. I can go and provide you guys later a list of when this stuff started to go wrong, because I know that the Department of Revenue, every time that we certify a free cash, they give us a list of all of the funds that are in deficit that hit our free cash for the certification. I can provide that to you.
That would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councilor.
Chairman.
Councilor Castro.
Thank you. So, but for the fact that we took over the BRA's function, right, so that we wouldn't lose obtaining CDBG funds from HUD, this debt is not ours to pay. That's right?
Well, I would say it is, because technically, although and jump in, Juan, if you disagree with anything that I say, but the BRA was the custodian of the funds, but the city was the recipient and ultimately the responsible party for these funds. And so I don't want to put words in the mayor's mouth, but I think that's one of the items that raised concern, is that we had some reductions in that free cash prior to last year for reimbursements that they were not receiving because of the dynamics that Juan discussed. So we are ultimately responsible, which is why I think the mayor made the right choice in pulling that back so that the city could take control.
And doesn't the deficiency include a debt and a judgment?
No, good point, but that is, there is a judgment out there, but that is a judgment against the Brockton Redevelopment Authority and not the city of Brockton. So the BRA has its own responsibilities within that organization.
And where will that money come from?
Yeah, just to make that clear as well, the city of Brockton has no legal basis or obligation and will not pay that debt. It was a debt against the BRA, not the city of Brockton. The money, the CFO expressed it, the money of HUD goes to the municipality, right? So cities and towns throughout the United States. In this case, it had been determined years ago that Brockton's money would be held by the BRA to be utilized. City like the city of Quincy, Mayor Koch doesn't do that. He brings it in-house. It's been in-house. So that's what we're doing. But any judgment or any obligation financially, legally, or otherwise on behalf of the BRA will not come to the city of Brockton. I've met with Megan Bridges and Stacy Verdi, our legal counsel, on that, and they concur.
Okay. So I guess this isn't the forum for asking, do they have the funds to pay that judgment? And if not, what happens next?
I'll resolve and invite the board members in. That'd be my
Sure.
suggestion.
Sure, that's a good idea. Okay. So the piece of paper that was at our table tonight, recent finance planning initiatives, who prepared this?
My staff did,
Your staff did, okay.
in collaboration with me, obviously.
Okay. And our goal is to continue receiving CDBG funds, right?
Yes. I mean, ultimately, that would be up to the chief executive, but
Right.
I have to assume, because of the good that it allows us to do in the community, that the next mayor would want to continue with that.
And is it possible that the misfeasance or malfeasance, as case may be, that resulted in these deficiencies will be pursued by the, we will pursue the individuals that caused that to happen?
So my role has been to try to work with the planning and economic development staff to account for the funds that we have, to put the department in a place where they can continue to use the funds, and then work with HUD to make sure we're in good standing with them. I think that decision is certainly outside the scope of my authority, but I think that's certainly a question you can ask the current or future mayor.
I think it's a good question. I think the city of Brockton is brilliant by having an outside audit firm. What is determined as a result of the audit, again, I will not be the mayor come January 5th, but I think the goal right now is to make sure that the city doesn't jeopardize any money from HUD. We want to get every penny and then some to get the most benefit with our partners in Boston and Washington. And again, whatever the determination comes out from the audit, the facts will be the facts, and then the next mayor and the next city council will have to make some determinations.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else?
Motion to recommend favorably?
Second?
Motion is made, properly second to recommend this matter favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The order is recommended favorable. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Item 13, resolve, be it resolved to invite the Executive Director and Chairman of the Board of the Brockton Community Access to appear before the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss the recent inability to cover the Brockton municipal elections, as well as the continuing poor coverage of the Brockton municipal government meetings, as well as any other coverage deemed appropriate by the City Council. Invited the Executive Director, Scott Mercer, Chairman Joe Miranda. We did receive an email from the Chairman. He is out of town this week, could not attend.
Councilor Azak, this is your resolve. You can start it off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Mercer. Thank you for being here this evening. As the resolve states, there's just, I know myself as a city councilor and as a resident, and I pay for Comcast, and I watch our local channel, not just our meetings, but, all the events that you're supposed to air on there, and I'm just overall disappointed. And that was the reason for this resolve. There was a bit of an uproar with the community as well during this last election. First of all, when did you come on? When did you come on to as executive director at BCA?
2.5 years ago in March.
Exactly. It was right around the time of an election, and I remember there was very poor coverage, but at the time you were fairly new, and there was no coverage of the election 2 years ago. And you were new there, and we said we wouldn't allow it to happen again. But yet this past election, there was absolutely no coverage of the election. I had people calling me, asking what the results were. Residents that are just, that aren't getting the information they need to get from this government channel. You're our local channel. We rely on you for all the information. There's a lot of things that have happened that I just feel are unacceptable as far as our meetings go. Just until recently, you were all airing meetings that were from back in October, so they're not even current. And there's a lot of events. I attend a lot of your events that they're supposed to be aired on the local channel, and they're not. I don't know when they're being aired, and that the local channel's on all the time. So I know something isn't right. Something isn't working right at BCA. So I would like to give you the opportunity to speak on it, to see what we can do to make it better. I know you've had employees there Many of them are volunteers, and I know there's a lot going on at the station, but I feel that you're their director and that there's a lack of direction. So, I'll give you the opportunity to just speak on that.
Sure, I'll start with the election that didn't get covered. I was not here. I arrived after that. Since I've been here, every election has been covered.
Well, we only have local elections every 2 years, so
Right, you
this
had
was our
preliminary-
last one.
We had
so-
the preliminary, the general, and the one before that. And this last election we covered, there were 22 runs on the HD channel, 8 runs on the standard def channel for public access. The only thing that happened for the last election was it was live to tape versus live because there was an equipment issue. So we did record a show, we did cover the election results, and we aired it at 10 p.m. We also aired it at 11:30 p.m. And then the next day, the 5th and the 6th, we ran it 10 times. So I've not missed an election since I've been here.
Okay, so, what channel were they aired on 10 times? I'm just curious, because
Sure, no, that's fine. On the HD channel and on the public access channel.
What numbers are those, sir?
I don't have them in front of me, 1075 and 1072, I believe.
What happened to Channel 6 and...
Well, those are the HD channels, so they ran on those as well. They ran on standard def and the HD channels.
Okay.
They're the same channel, it's just a different signal that goes out.
Okay. So, I wish it was just my own, that I was content
Yeah, I'm
with
not
it.
debating you, I'm just articulating the facts. I haven't missed an election since I've been here. The previous one, I was fully aware of it, made aware of it. And again, we haven't missed the coverage of an election since I've been here.
Sure. So, so you see that there was absolutely no problem with this this election that happened at the
No,
beginning
trust
of
me,
November?
we wanted it to be live, and when we found out it wasn't going out signal-wise live, we wanted to make sure we had coverage. So what we did was we continued live to tape and turned it around soon as we downloaded that, soon as we uploaded that recording and put it out to the public.
Okay. I'm not sure how it was put out to the public, but I'm just trying to... Sure.
It was put out on the channel, so I'm not sure what that means. We put it out at 10 p.m.
Yeah, I had the channel on the whole time. It was just a black screen, but that's fine. My displeasure in this isn't just my own. It's also an outcry from our community that I heard everywhere. Everybody was very displeased with the lack of coverage. So, I want to see things better. Actually, your budget, I think, I can't speak for your employees, but you as the executive director are decently paid, I believe. And I expect that we have, quality public television from our local, station. So but from listening to you, I'm understanding that you didn't see that there was an issue with what happened.
No,
so you don't feel there's anything to fix, or?
Well, yeah, as soon as we learned that there was an equipment failure, we delivered the program. I'm only addressing that you're saying we didn't cover the elections, and we did. As far as a problem, yes, we worked very hard. We put all the graphics together. We did everything leading up to the live coverage, which is what we presented 2 months before in the preliminary. And we were very disappointed that it wasn't live. But the next best thing was to make sure, and I'm glad we did, that there was actually a program with the election results that we were able to air no more than an hour later. So as far as disappointment, I can assure you there's nobody more disappointed than me and my staff who worked and prepared for that production, and it didn't go out live. But at the same time, that happens in television, but most importantly, I'm very proud that we were able to actually record the election, get the results, and put it out on the air an hour later than it was anticipated to be on.
Okay. So besides the the night of the election, November election.
Yes.
I mean, we've had problems here constantly, just, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, or we had a problem here in council chambers, and we've invested a lot of money in the year since I've been on the council for rewiring, to make sure that we have quality, so the people at home can be informed, watch our meetings, and be informed about what's happening in the city. But we constantly have problems. So in seeing those as the executive director, I feel like, that we should be able to fix these issues so we're not constantly, there's constantly issues. We need them taken care of, and that's a reason for this resolve. I'm being very plain and direct, but it's just unacceptable, and we need to figure out a solution and take care of this for the community.
Sure, I'm more than happy to go through each and every incident and identify what issues there are and resolve them. So if you have specifics, I'm more than happy. You mentioned one the other day, you said?
Sure, there's issues with wiring here. Many times the microphones. A few weeks back, we weren't able to put the power, we had guests here and they couldn't put up, their information on the screen. So that's just one incident. But I'm also, as a person who pays for Comcast, I watch, you were airing old meetings. You weren't even airing the most recent meetings. So I'm like, what happens? Like, well, what was going on?
Well,
we were still airing October and near the end of November.
Well, that's to fill spots, because depending on what time or how many meetings there are, if there's vacation or not vacation, but they're not in session, then we fill them with repeats, which is what we have done for PEG stations for programming. But as far as any technical, just to be clear, because I shared this the last time I was invited here, this is not our equipment. This is the city's equipment. We do operate it, but we're not the ones who fix it. Last time I was here, when there was an audio issue, it was not BCA who had the audio issue. It was actually in the basement here at City Hall. And so we're not responsible for the equipment. We turn it on, we test it so that we can go. But if there's an issue, we do try to troubleshoot it, but it's the city's equipment that we run. We don't maintain it. We don't, we make recommendations about it, but we don't maintain this equipment. So anytime there's an issue with equipment, we do try to troubleshoot. We do try to make the deliverable available to everybody. But BCA is not the one responsible for the equipment. We simply operate it.
Okay. And in many years, the annual parade coverage is always live. Like this year, it wasn't. So
correct. This year was not live because we didn't have enough staff to cover it. So what we did was live to tape, which is being edited as we speak, so that I can go on the air. But we did cover the event. We just are turning it around.
Okay. So I don't know if you sense my frustration, but we're very frustrated. It's just things aren't working smoothly. Sometimes they're not working at all, and I'd like to find a resolution. So whether it's, you're telling me this, but have you reached out to our IT department? I'm figuring if it's not you that covers the wiring, then it's got to be our IT. Do you work together with them, or?
Yeah, we do. That's how we discovered it was that issue, was somebody downstairs moved some equipment around or some cords around, and that's why there was no. Anytime there's a technical issue, we're on it. But that's what we do. But again, when you go live and when you're producing something can happen, and that is, going to happen, and we try to resolve it. We turn around, if it's necessary, we edit it and we make it ready for air. But I can assure you that everybody's doing their due diligence in preparation as well as execution. That's the best we can do. I'm not hiding, I'm not making excuses, I'm not even defending, I'm just clarifying what the process is so that everybody's clear on what that process is. If we miss a meeting, 9 times out of 10, it's not because we didn't look to see if there was a meeting, it's that we weren't aware of a meeting. And even when we're made aware, we do everything we can to make sure that we we can cover that meeting. I mean, we have the Unknown School tomorrow, which is not in the Little Theater, which takes 3 to 4 more people to produce, and so we have to make sure we cover that, but we also have to cover the other items that are on the agenda or on the production schedule to get it done. So we are doing the best we can under the circumstances under which we learn of a meeting at the last minute. We try our best, which I believe is what happened here. When 2 people came over, even though I had already checked the website for the meeting, I told my staff there is no meeting tonight, and then at 5 to 7, I learned there was a meeting. So it's not like we're just saying, oh, we don't have to do anything today. It's we're trying to figure it out. Once we learn or see that there's something, we're on it, and if we don't see anything and we don't know about it, there's nothing we can do other than react once we're told there's a meeting. And that's kind of how it's been operating.
So, Mr. Mercer,
Yes.
tomorrow's our no meeting, that's school committee, regular
Yes, it is.
scheduled school committee, right?
Yes, it
Just
is.
taking place in a different place?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
So, I mean, once again, I don't want to, I don't mean to be harsh, but it's just unacceptable. When you say you didn't have coverage for the parade, it's an annual parade, we have it every year. How do you not have coverage? I mean...
Well, 1, I was sick, and then 2, you're saying coverage, so if I may, just so I have clarification, when you're saying coverage, you're talking live coverage versus recorded coverage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we can't cover something live, we do record it and we put it on the air. But if we don't have live coverage, it can be because of a technical issue, it could be a staffing issue, it could be a last-minute issue. But overall, we do try and have covered everything to the best of our ability live. That's the preference, and I'm fully aware of that.
So I'm going to be honest, I'm finding it very unacceptable. I get complaints from, we're not covering our local sports, our youth sports, we're not covering, I heard that somebody said if, somebody can tape it and send it in, you'll air it. I mean, that's just, I grew up on our local channel. That's how people find out about what's happening in our city. And, it's a good chunk of, you have a good budget. I don't know how, and like I said, I know the majority of your staff are volunteers or part-time, they're not, so I just feel like it's mismanagement, there's a lack of direction, and I feel we need that as a community.
If I may,
fixed,
what
to be
sports are
repaired.
not being covered, if I may?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, what sports are not being covered?
Local youth sports, I think whether it was baseball in the spring, or there was some local sports aren't being covered as the youth sports.
Well, I work very closely with Kevin, the director, he tells us what games he would or would not like covered, would he prefer not to be covered. So I'm not sure what you're referencing.
I know I've gotten complaints that the local sports aren't being covered. I don't have any one specific one right now, but there are, the coverage of our local sports aren't as they used to be.
Okay.
So, I mean, what I'd like to see is just more, maybe, communication between yourself, and I know I know Mr. Miranda couldn't be here, he's the chairman of the board. I know that you have some of your employees that have, become unionized. I don't know if that's had any effect on some of the issues, but I really feel like there's lack of communication, and we really need to come together and fix this matter, because it's unacceptable. I don't know what else to say about it, but I'll leave it at that, and I hope that things get better, and I can send you an email with specific things that are.
That would be very helpful, yeah.
But I would like to see this really be what it used to be. I mean, we've always had a very strong local channel. We've always had the glitches and the, technical issues, but there just seems a lack of direction, so I'd like that taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Castro.
Good evening, Mr. Mercer.
Good
Thank you
evening,
for being
Council.
here. How many employees does BCA have right now?
7.
7 employees. And how many are part-time?
1.
1 part-time and 6 full-time. And a year ago, how many employees did BCA have?
They had 8.
8. And most of them were full-time?
Yes. There were two part-timers then.
2 part-time. And how many volunteers do you have?
That varies. As far as production-wise, what I would say, as far as consistent volunteers, 2 to 3.
2 to 3?
Yeah,
And what about a year ago?
about the same, yeah.
About the
We
same.
do have more members that are producing, member producers, so we have more shows on the air now than we've had in the past since I've been there.
I echo my colleague, Councilor Azak. I'm getting more comments and complaints about BCA than I ever have in the 8 years that I've been sitting here.
Okay.
People say there's not as much coverage as there used to be. And, you know, there's certain expectations like that the parade will be covered live, that the election, especially the local elections, will be covered live. And I lay it at your feet, and you're the executive director.
Sure.
Please take this seriously and do something about it, and improve it. And let us know how you are going to improve it. Because a city like ours, with not much of a newspaper, we rely on other sources. And in large measure, we rely on BCA to find out what's going on, what to expect, the timing and the dates of different events. Your service is very important to the city. It really is. You make a difference when you're cooking with gas, as they say. And so the last thing I wanted to ask is, I would like to see BCA's annual reports. Have you got those?
I don't. I can talk to the board for them, yes.
Yes. I'd like to see the last 3 years of annual reports, because I'm interested to know how is BCA spending the funding that comes from the city every year. And that would be a very good snapshot for us to look at. And it's funny, I've made this request over a number of years, and they've never come. We've never seen them, to my knowledge, which is a shame, because how do you justify asking for more? Everybody wants more if you don't show us what you're doing now. All right, I'll leave you with that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, councilors. Councilors, anyone else
Motion to recommend.
on the motion? Mr. Clerk.
If I could, just, I don't want to get into it, just concerning 2 weeks ago, we realized there was some communications breakdown because of changes that they had and changes that we had. We do communicate literally, my office, the day of every meeting, checks again. We were a little spoiled when Mike Simmons was here. He understood. We realized there's a breakdown, in fact, because what they were looking for city council meetings. For instance, tonight is not posted as a city council meeting. It's posted as a finance meeting, so when they went to look, they assumed there was no meeting, and it was a Tuesday night also. But when Mike was here, he always understood, he knew. So there was a little bit of a breakdown, and we do, you know, my staff now reaches out to, we have everybody's cell phone number. I always had Mike's. They did react that night, but the people that got here at the last minute don't know this equipment. So it was a problem. We have talked to them, make sure those other employees besides tonight's cameraman has training on this equipment, so that if somebody's out sick or, because we can't afford to have that happen anymore. So that's strictly just the meeting 2 weeks ago, though.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And Mr. Chairman, if I can, the loss of Mike Simmons to, you know, that he left BCA was huge, because he really, I mean, I wish you would have done something to keep him, because he was a wealth of knowledge and experience, and really kept a lot going, because he knew the ins and outs. He'd been there for, 17 years, I believe, but really, that was something, that was a big disappointment, that we let somebody that was so vested in BCA go somewhere else. I mean, but
I couldn't agree more.
thank you. I make a motion to send this favorably back to the full city council.
Second.
Motion is made, properly second, and recommend this resolve favorably. All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Understood. The resolve is recommended favorably. Thank you, Mr. Mercer, for
Thank you,
joining us this evening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Councilors, I'd open it up for councilor recognition. Seeing none, councilors, just to let you know, next week, we're having our annual picture. That's going to be done at 6 p.m. in council chambers. So our meeting, our city council meeting will happen at regular time, 7 p.m. next week. We do have our tax classification, but that'll be held within our normal city council meeting. 6 p.m. tomorrow in chambers for our pictures. Next Monday, yes. And with no further business before this council, I declare this meeting adjourned.